Hello everyone. Today we will be talking about what jailbreaking is on iOS devices. The main goal of jailbreaking is to run unsigned code and gain root access. So basically you can install things from outside the App Store, and you can also modify key parts of iOS. If you don't know what iOS is, it's the software or operating system that runs on Apple devices, including the iPad, iPod, and iPhone. iOS is separated into two parts or partitions, the root partition and the user partition. The root partition contains parts of iOS, while the user partition contains the user's data, like photos, apps, and more. When you turn on your device, the root partition is mounted as read-only, which means it cannot be changed, while the user partition is mounted as read-write, which means you can make changes to it. Like all other operating systems, iOS contains a kernel. A kernel is basically the core of the operating system, and has complete control over everything on the device. On iOS, the kernel enforces many security checks, but today we'll focus on two main ones: sandboxing and code signing. The goal of code signing is to make sure that only software approved by Apple is able to run on the device by checking for a valid signature before the code is ran. Sandboxing makes sure that apps can't access other apps' data, and basically self-contains themselves into kind of like a box, essentially why it's called sandboxing. In order to jailbreak, code signing must be disabled, and sandboxing must be partially or fully disabled. In order to do this, vulnerabilities in iOS must be found. Software can be created to exploit these vulnerabilities, and if it's serious enough, then the software could elevate its privileges to the point where it could patch the kernel. Patching the kernel basically means disabling the security checks that have been enforced, like code signing and sandboxing. If the software elevates its privileges enough, it can also remount the root partition as read-write, which means that we can now make changes to iOS. With the root partition now able to make changes, and code signing and sandboxing disabled, the basics of the jailbreak are finally enabled. Most jailbreaks install something called Cydia by default. Cydia is a user interface for something called apt, and basically lets you install packages that cannot be found in the App Store. These can be normal applications, or they could be things called tweaks. Tweaks use something found on jailbroken devices called Cydia Substrate, and use this to inject code into iOS. Tweaks can do anything from hiding the labels on your home screen to completely redesigning an application. That covers the basics on what jailbreaking is. In my next videos, we'll discuss more in depth what jailbreaking is and the security risks with it. If you'd like to see more videos about iOS and other technology, be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.